What's the difference between really, really, really good movies, the ones you watch again and again, and just okay movies that you've maybe only watched once? Often the answer comes down to story structure. The best movies usually feature characters in search of a clear goal who face obstacles along the way. Today, we'll be outlining our very own short film and learning some of the tricks of the trade that professional screenwriters use for full-length features. You can follow along with me as I outline a short film and work on your very own story all along the way. Okay, let's start with step 1. Brainstorm story ideas and characters. For me, the first step is actually the hardest part. You have to think of a compelling character who needs something, and what they need is what I'm going to be calling their goal. If you have a story idea already, that's awesome, but if not, I like to just start with thinking about a character or a goal. Your goal could be anything. It could be getting into art school, saving up to buy a new pair of shoes, saving the family business, anything. For my short story, I decided that a fun goal would be to find hidden treasure. Sure, it's kind of an overdone trope, but I like it. The goal is clear, and I really appreciate that. Also, I think it's just kind of a fun one, so why not? Next step is characters. I've been thinking, and what about two 15-year-old girls? A science whiz and an athlete. They could be best friends since kindergarten who are starting to drift apart, and this hidden treasure whole thing is all that's bringing them together. Perfect. We have a character, we have a goal. Now it's time for the outline. Before we start outlining, it helps to have a general idea about what screenplay format actually looks like. Movies are unofficially broken up into 3 acts. Beginning, middle, and end. If you're a fancy screenwriter person, you can call them Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. I've gone ahead and written all this out into what's called a beat sheet. That's a fancy screenwriter way of saying outline. You can use this beat sheet to help think about your own short film. I've also written down some major story beats. A beat is like a small storytelling unit, usually composed of a few scenes. A screenplay outline is a list of story beats, hence the name beat sheet. Anyway, back to the acts. Acts are super important because they give you a way to think about your story structure. Act 1 is all about setting up your goal, introducing your characters, and that takes about 25% of the movie. Act 2 is where the characters decide to actually work towards their goal, but then everything ends up being way harder than they ever thought it would be. And Act 2 takes up about 50% of a professional screenplay. Lastly, Act 3 is all about wrapping things up. It's the final showdown with the evil antagonist or the reconciliation with their best friend, and it normally shows the character's life going back to somewhat normal, even if they're changed for the better. Okay, now that we know about acts and story beats, let's get to work fitting our story into that beat sheet. We're going to start with Act 1. First, you need to introduce your characters and their goal. Because film is a visual medium, you get bonus points if you can use images instead of dialogue. I need to introduce my 2 characters and the treasure hunt. A treasure map is nice. It's a good visual way to do that, right? Okay, that sounds perfect. So, characters stumble upon a treasure map. Great. Now, Act 2. We have to figure out the twists and turns. Let's look at our beat sheet template for some ideas. So the first thing that needs to happen is a character needs to start working towards their goals. Okay, so what if they try to read the map, but there's no words on it? So one of them thinks about adding heat to a lemon juice message and try to read it that way. Okay, that works, and now they have a place, Lakeland Valley. That's where the treasure's hidden, but they don't know where Lakeland Valley is, so the athletic friend calls her teammates to see if they know where it is. But no one does. So now we move on to the next story beat. False hope or false failure. So in the middle of a movie, there's always this midpoint. It's my favorite thing to do when I watch a movie to try and find it. This is why none of my friends like going to the movies with me, but it's totally fine. Anyway, what would the midpoint look like for this film? Probably the false failure midpoint would look something like they couldn't figure out how to follow the map. And let's make it even worse, because the girls have been drifting apart. What if one of them wants to give up and the other one doesn't? So let's say the science whiz gives up, there's a big fight. That sounds perfect. Now, what's the next step? The next step on our beat sheet is back on track. How do we get the story back on track after either the false hope or the false failure of the midpoint? Mine was a false failure, so I need some way for them to find some piece of missing evidence. So the athlete's still working on it. What if she keeps on searching and accidentally stumbles upon this major piece of the puzzle? She could visit her grandmother, who knows where Lakeland Valley is. Or better yet, what if her grandmother grew up there? Perfect. Let's try that. So we finished Act 2, we're almost there, we just need Act 3. So for Act 3, that's when we figure out how we want to end it. And on my beat sheet, there's 2 final beats. There's the final challenge and then happy ending / character growth. Let's start with the final challenge. It's really fun to give your character that one final battle where they're almost there, yet there's this one huge obstacle in their way. You'll notice in a lot of professional movies, there's often a former friend that turns on them or a former rival coming to their rescue. Think like Star Wars, A New Hope. In my movie, I think I'll kind of go the easy way and just have them realize that their treasure map actually leads to a chicken coop. But the chicken coop has a loose floorboard with a golden bracelet inside, and so ta-da, they've found the treasure. Now it's time for the very last story beat, happy endings and character growth. The best stories have characters grow by the end, and so I like to ask myself, how have my characters changed for the better as they try to reach their goal? I think my character should realize that the treasure isn't actually theirs in the first place. It belongs to the young couple who owns the farm, and so my main characters decide to give it to them. That way, my 2 main characters found their original goal, the treasure, but they also learned to value someone else's happiness more than their own. And they've changed for the better. Oh, and yeah, they're back to being best friends again. A word of warning about this whole character growth thing, you don't want to make your ending feel like preachy or overly emotional, but I definitely trust you to walk that fine line. You'll do amazingly in your own outline. So now that we finished this happy ending, we've actually outlined our own story. We made our first beat sheet. Yay! If you decide to take your short film to the next step, you'll need to actually write the script. But believe it or not, with the outline and the beat sheet, your hardest work is already done. You know your characters and you know their journey. You're already well on your way to your first short film screenplay.
Today, we're going to show you how to make cinnamon roasted sweet potatoes that can be a good substitution instead of French fries. Everyone loves French fries, but French fries are made from russet or white potatoes that do not have as much good nutrition for your body. French fries are also fried in lots of oils. Eating too much oil or fat can increase your risk of heart disease and diabetes. Roasting vegetables like sweet potatoes, carrots, or broccoli is a healthier way to cook without having to add too much oil or fat that is not good for your heart. You will only need 4 ingredients: sweet potatoes, olive oil, salt, and pepper, and 6 kitchen tools including a knife, a cutting board, measuring spoons, a baking sheet, a bowl, and a spoon. First, you will need to turn on the oven to 375 degrees to let it heat up. While the oven is heating up, wash the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are high in fiber as well as vitamin A, vitamin C, and potassium. Because they are so full of fiber, they can help you stay full longer, which can prevent overeating. You can decide whether you want to peel off the outside skin of the sweet potatoes. If you wash the outside well, you can eat the skin, which contains additional great nutrients. Then, cut the sweet potatoes into 1-inch cubes. Next, in a large bowl, mix together the olive oil, cinnamon, salt, and pepper. Make sure you don't add more than the recipe says. Add the cut up sweet potatoes and toss them in the mixture to coat. Dump the sweet potatoes onto a baking sheet, then stick them into the oven to roast for 15 to 20 minutes. Pull them out, stir, and then put them back in for an additional 10 minutes. Make sure to be careful when you pull the baking sheet out of the oven, as it will be hot. And there you go, a great nutritious side dish to go along with your meal.
Hi, and welcome to Library Science Theater 3000. This month's Summer Scares theme featured 2 bad movies, Grizzly and Summer of Fear. If you haven't had a chance to check them out yet, you can stream them for free with your library card by visiting hoopladigital.com. And if you want to watch some really bad but fun homemade movie trailers made by yours truly, or get ideas for your own personal or virtual watch party, check out my previous movie night videos on IGTV. As part of this series, I'll also suggest a read-alike each month. thus the focus of today's video. And side note, Summer of Fear is actually based on a YA novel by Lois Duncan. That's not what we'll be talking about today, however, it is available on ebook if you're interested. Anyway, before I tell you my book pick, here's a little background on why I chose it. Both Grizzly and Summer of Fear were made in the 70s and don't really stand up well to the test of time. And not just because of outdated special effects, but because both are fairly stereotypical in terms of your classic horror gender presentation. You know, sexy women getting stalked and maimed by monsters, only able to be properly protected by the most masculine of men. And jealous girls who have to be in constant catty competition to get rid of each other, because apparently we're all going to steal each other's boyfriends, and therefore can't coexist. Well, if you're looking for something a little more empowering, but with the same amount of blood and gore and fear, and even the same summertime vibe, look no further than Claire Legrand's SAWKILL Girls. This book takes all those bad sexist genre tropes and addresses them head on, but not in a way that's all rainbows and puppy dogs and girl power. The characters are complex and messy. Sometimes you like them, sometimes they annoy you, sometimes you hate them, sometimes you feel bad for them, but a lot of times, as is the case in most horror movies, you're like, OMG, what the heck are you thinking? Now, they do come together all kick-butt girl power in the very end to fight the patriarchy. Oops, sorry. I mean, the Demogorgon-like evil creature that slaughters and eats teenage girls. But it's not a particularly feel-good story, and their relationships are a far cry from perfect. Secret society dude bros aside, there are also strong comments on the consequences of complicity. This book's got Buffy vibes, it's got Stranger Things vibes. In my opinion, the end's just a little too derivative and neatly packaged considering the rest of the story's tone, but the emotions are real, there's tons of drama to keep you in suspense, and a lot of body horror if that's your thing. If any of this appeals to you, definitely check out SAWKILL Girls by Claire Legrand. Go ahead and put a copy on hold by visiting our website, library.nashville.org. And don't forget to tune in next week for more Library Science Theater 3000.
Hello, this is Keach Rainwater. I am your guest mentor today for Studio NPL. And today I'm going to show you a really cool way that you can get graphics like titles or even little characters or almost like cartoon type things. I use it mostly for graphics for videos that I'm doing into your from Photoshop into your film that you're doing, your video into Premiere Pro. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, some of you may already know how to do it. That's perfectly fine. But this is for people that don't really know how to do it and they don't want to just type the graphics out in Premiere Pro. They want to do more of a hand-drawn sort of type thing in their video, but they don't know how to get the character, the letters and stuff to float above the screen where you don't have a background and all that. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do that today. So what I've got here is I'm in Photoshop and I am drawing actually on a Cintiq, which is a tablet. It's a digitizing tablet, so I have a pen. I'm holding a pen in my hand. I'm drawing. Now, you could just use a mouse or, like any other kind of little digital tablet or whatever if you've got, or any kind of way that you can input and draw into there. Some people can do it with a mouse. Some people need a pen. I'm just using a pen today. So I'm just going to go to this brush tool here, and I got kind of this brush picked out that's sort of I don't know, it's just kind of looks like a paintbrush kind of sort of, and I kind of like that. So I'll start with black color. I'm over here, I'll just change it to black. So there we go, there's black. I got to make the size a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to write in some graphics, and I'm going to actually color them to make them sort of like a cartoon character, with some color and art, with some line art and all that stuff. And then I'm going to import that into the video. So if you notice down here at the bottom, down here where the layers are, down here there's a background layer and there's layer 1 and layer 2. So what I'm going to do is the background layer I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to get rid of the background layer. So we don't want the background. So you'll see these little checkerboard things in here. That just lets you know that there is no background. So whatever you draw is going to be floating above your screen when you edit into your video. So I have layer 1, which is on top. So I'm going to go to that one, and I'm going to do my line art there. So I'm just going to write out some quick sort of, and I like these to be real rough, some real rough kind of lettering here, sort of like line art in a cartoon character. So I'm just, this is a little video about the one-wheel electric skateboard that I'm just sort of putting together. So right now I'm just writing out I'm just doing the outline of these letters and stuff. And I like the fact that they're hand-drawn. I like that. It kind of is more edgy looking, and you can really tell that somebody sort of worked on it, instead of just like punching in the titles in there. So there's my sort of line art there. Now I'm going to color this in by hand, and I'll show you why here in a second. So I go switch down here to the layer 2, which is underneath the layer. So I'm on a separate layer so it doesn't smudge the lines. So it stays behind these lines here. So I'm going to change colors here because I want it to be a little more colorful. I want the insides to look just kind of a little more colorful. It's like a cartoon character, so the line art stands out a little more. So I'll just make it like this. Now I could just use the bucket tool or whatever, but I'm not going to, because I'll show you why in just a minute. Actually, I'm going to go different color there. I'm going to make this look a little bit like it has green slime coming out of the top of it. So I'm going to choose all these different colors here to fill in this color, and I'll show you why I'm not using the bucket tool. The bucket tool would just show basically it would fill inside these lines only, and I want to do something different. So just to kind of make it look kind of more fun and show you why you don't really have to use the bucket tool to do this. But the bucket tool means that you can just, for those of you that don't know, that you can just kind of touch inside these black lines and fill it with a certain color. And it's a quicker and easier kind of way to do it than this way by hand. But I want to show you. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to like this green color, kind of green, and I'm going to make it look kind of like slime's coming up off of here, like it's dripping with slime, just to kind of show you that the bucket tool would not do this. It would, if you tried to do outside the lines, it would fill the whole screen with this color. But I want to make it look more hand drawn, and so it's like that slime kind of, coming from, like it's dripping with slime, kind of cool. Just something like that, You can even, and that, so whatever you put on this screen will show up on your video. If I put a little dot over here, it'll show up on the screen. I don't really want that, but I do want to make it look like it's just the slime dripped all over the place here, like or something like that. Just kind of fun, and it just makes it look more sort of hand drawn and more fun. It's like slime dripping. So we can just do that with that. So now that I've got that drawn, the layers and all that, I've got the background. There's with the background, and then take the background off, which you just click on that little eye right there. Take the background off, and then I'm going to go File, and then I'm just going to hit Export, Quick Export as PNG. And I'll just do that. Then I'll name it something here. We'll call it Slime. We'll just call it Slime for now. Okay. Slime PNG. Okay, so save that, and then I'm going to go over to hang on a second. Go over to Premiere Pro, which is here, and there's my video loaded up. And if I just hit Apple I can import that slime, that little thing I did. Boom. Apple I means import. That's for import. So I've imported it. There's my slime right there. So there it is. There's my little thing I drew, and I just grabbed the little film clip thing, drag it down here on top, and voila, there it is. Now I need to resize it and all that to make it fit the screen, which I can do with effects controls. I can just scale it down, scale this down to a more manageable size, and then I can just kind of put it down here somewhere. This is just an example. I didn't really spend a lot of time on this, obviously, but you could spend a lot of time on it, and you could really make it look neat. You can animate this. You can make it float around the screen. You can do multiple layers of this. You could draw the slime as one layer, import that separate, and then you can bring in your graphics and you can almost like a cartoon. You can animate all this stuff and automate it and make it move around. And so that right there, you wouldn't find that font in your font book or whatever. You can tell that it's totally hand drawn. So now that when I'm watching this, I can hit play, and then it just kind of pops up there, see, and it floats above the screen, so there's no background to it. So it's pretty cool. I can make that as fancy as I wanted, any color, it's just like total control. You are the artist. So whatever art you want to put into your graphics, you can put it into your video, and you can make it move around and just like a cartoon character. And it's a real more sort of a fun way to put graphics and arrows. You could do circle somebody's face or something like that. Whatever, whatever you can come up with, you can make it float above your screen here very simply in Photoshop and just import it right into Premiere Pro. And there you go. This has been Keach Rainwater, your guest mentor here at Studio NPL. And hope you enjoyed this, and there will be more to come in the future. So thanks for watching.
Hey friends, Ashley here with my last Leave No Trace knowledge to help you know what to do when you're outdoors. Leave No Trace consists of 7 principles to keep in mind while we're outdoors, and these are not strict rules. These are merely guidelines to help you make good decisions while you're outside. So to do a little recap, I have some cool hand gestures to help us remember. So number 1, plan ahead and prepare. So we're checking on our phone, we're checking the weather. Where are we going? How many snacks do we need? Does anybody know where we're going and when we're coming back? Number 2, travel and camp on durable surfaces. So think of focusing on either trails or sidewalks, or we're traveling on rocks, gravel, or sand. Number 3, disposing of waste properly. So we're scooping up our trash and throwing it away properly, and that includes human waste as well. Number 4, leave what you find and take only photos. Instead of taking home cool rocks that you found, just take a photo of it, and someone will be able to also experience that later. Number 5, reduce campfire impact. So we have my fire pit that I've prepared, and here's my fire. If we decide to do a campfire, just knowing how to do it well and doing it responsibly. Number 6, respect wildlife. These are my antlers. So respecting wildlife is basically just keeping a respectful distance between us and animals that we encounter. And now we are finally getting to number 7. Be considerate of other visitors. Just say hello, waving, make an eye contact. It goes a long way. If we are in a really popular park and we're encountering others and we're sharing that space with them, if we're passing each other, all you have to do is just kind of step aside. If you're on like a really skinny trail, you could just step aside on like a rock or like a dirt patch somewhere that is a durable surface and let that person pass while you're just saying hello. It's as simple as that. Also, if you're in a larger group and you're walking 3 deep, you're chatting with your friends, and you encounter another group, simply switch to single file so that y'all can pass each other and give a respectful distance to each other. Once you've passed each other, you can go right back to just chatting and walking 3 deep again and doing your thing. Also, phones are a really helpful tool to have. So a phone can help you get to where you're going, can give you directions and the weather. It can also play your favorite music. If that helps you get in the zone when you're outside and you're just jamming out to your favorite music, try to avoid playing it really loudly. If you're in a quiet space and there are others around, they might not also want to listen to your music. And also, earbuds or headphones work really well for this. Yet you might want to keep one in and one out so that you're able to stay aware of the space around you, keep your awareness for safety, and also like if someone's passing you and you can just say hello and they don't surprise you. Another thing to keep in mind is when we're sharing outdoor spaces and we want to take a break, avoid taking your break in the middle of a trail. So you want to just like step off the trail a few feet and hang out, have some water, have a snack, and avoid making people walk around you to continue on their travels. So when it comes to being considerate to other visitors, simply remember to be kind. You never know what another person is dealing with in their life, and simply saying hello and being friendly can make a big difference in someone's day. Thank you for listening to all of my Leave No Trace knowledge, and I hope you've learned some stuff. There are a lot of questions and things to still learn, so if you want more information, just check out on Instagram at Leave No Trace Center or lnt.org online. Thanks for listening, y'all. Have a good day.